it's Drybear. I was recently granted access to Imperial, an upcoming action game to be released very, very soon. So today I wanted to walk you through the gameplay elements, get through the classes, the weapons, and just demystify some of the game elements so you can hit the ground running when you jump into Imperial and focus on having fun rather than being confused. And a huge shout out to Silent Games and Secret Mode for sponsoring this video and making all this possible. Wishlist Imperial now using my tracking link down below in the description, the comments, and on screen right now. Imperial releases May 8th and will be available on all platforms, including PC, PS5, and Xbox Series S and X. First question you're probably asking is, what the heck is Imperial? And after playing it for over a day now, just messing around with all the builds and everything, at least my perspective of this is it has roguelike elements in that you will have different encounters, scaling difficulty, loot that you can get in different areas. You're constantly climbing and building up on it, but it also has Souls-like kind of action RPG combat as well. It's three-dimensional. You have some animations you'll lock into, different weapons and kind of class builds you'll mess around with, and different encounters you'll find that are very boss-like in this kind of camera setup. A cool part about the game is the character customizer, which is super cool and very high fidelity. The hair, strands look really clean and really sharp, and I think there's a lot of different options that people can make for their character when they're starting out. The first choice you'll be met with after you make your character is going to be these starting classes and character backgrounds. There are 7 of them to choose from. They have different gear and skills that they start with as well, and they focus on the 3 core weapons of the game overall: the cannon, the glaive, and the mace and shield. Now don't worry, you're not going to be locked into hard choices. This is a little bit more like a Souls-like game in that format. You can choose one of these classes as a starting point. It'll save you some silver at the very beginning of the game and give you a direction to move on when you're trying to make your build initially, but ultimately you'll probably want to try different combinations and different weapons as you go along. So it is really just a start point for the kind of gear, stats, and weapon that you'll begin the game with. So don't get too caught up on it when you're trying to figure out what character background you're trying to choose. Next, as a little hot tip, because I got stuck here at the very beginning of the game, you will start out in this hub just outside, like this is the ziggurat here, and then your quest is very open-ended. Like they just let you explore and talk to NPCs and enjoy the world. However, the first quest is to find things, which is, I got super confused. I was exploring a whole bunch. So if you're wondering, just to give you the hot tip, if you come in here at the very beginning, when you load into the hub, it'll say find your way to the monolith. That's going to be super easy. So without spoiling anything about the story or progression, from this entrance point, this gate here, you have to go past the bar and the bartender, turn right here, go past the cartographer here, and past this area. If you go around here and turn left, you will get to the main point of the game, which is going to be this massive, awe-inspiring monolith that just takes out the horizon for you. This is where you need to go for your first quest. So once you're done exploring the hub area, just come over here. If you get lost like me, maybe the headphone dent is deepening into my gray matter, but this is where you need to go for your first steps so you don't get stuck like I did. Next, you'll be able to talk to the smithy here and to identify gear and unlock skills and upgrade things and modify your equipment. From here, you'll be able to go up to the cartography here to identify your cartograms, which allows you to enter in your roguelike instanced encounters. You'll identify them here, and you'll walk up to this portal and be able to start unique roguelike encounters from this place. From the cartographer, you'll have to come down here to the bar and talk to the bartender. This is where I usually sell my treasures to get income and make money so I can craft and identify items. Then from the bartender, you want to walk over here, and this is where your quest hub is going to be. Like the 2 main quest NPCs are in this room and this room here, so you have to talk to them when you're trying to do the main story quest. And the last thing I'll leave you with on the hub is going to be the practice area where you can mess around with different weapons, builds, and other things like that, which is quite useful. And from these 2 quest NPCs, you'll want to head over here and go up this ramp right here. So we're going to jump up on top, we're going to climb this, and then we can go into the training area up here. And this is where we're going to show off the different weapon types and things that you can do in the game. You can even see the weapon types are up there on the wall. So we'll come down here, and in this area, it will be like a true combat area. You'll be able to bring your weapon out, attack, you'll have all your abilities, you can do crazy stuff, things like that. This is where you do all the fun things things and mess around, and you might want to mess around depending on which weapon you want to choose. So let's talk about the 3 weapon choices you have and how you might integrate that into your build so it can help you decide on, 1, your starting class, because you'll start with that weapon out of the gate, and also just figure out what weapon you want to use for the encounters and how they work, because there's a lot of inner workings to the weapons themselves that you may want to know about. Let's start with the Glaive, which is a more agility focused, high mobility focused weapon. You're going to be doing a lot of dodging and really key action oriented deflects at the right time. It has a lot of mobility, so you have a lot of flippy doos and slammies and boom bombs and stuff like that. So if you like more of like a high agility build, now because of the stat system, you could build this more stability focused with higher resistance to stun and things like that. But I think the Glaive is better suited for high mobility and dodging, so you want to max out your agility as your main stat. So you have your abilities to choose from. There are going to be abilities that are specific to each weapon and some that are generic that you can pick up and use if you prefer, but the Glaive has some really cool options there. What I love about the Glaive, again, is just how fast it is and how much you can utilize the space. So it had like some really cool like dodges and mobility, and it scales really well with agility as well. So you can do a ton of this stuff and kind of get built on that. It's also really easy to build up status effects for elements and things like that, and we'll go over the elements and the stats in the gear and equipment section, but it kind of gets you that way as well. Another thing I love about the Glaive is that anytime you deflect or dodge, you get a whole bunch of mobility out of it. So one of the best things that I can show you is like with the Glaive here, if we were to deflect that, you'll notice that with the deflect that we have on here, if I can actually not miss, so we go boom, if he hits me, we can deflect, and with each of the attacks, you'll notice we get crazy mobility. We can teleport to enemies. When we deflect, we can actually jump and then slash as well, which allows us to blink and teleport, so you get a lot of mobility out of that as well. So you can do a lot of really cool things with that. So you're going to be doing a lot of like, so you can do like dodges at the last second. If I can actually hit this, it is to deflect. So if you don't move when you try to deflect, you'll be able to get a deflect off of that. If you do move, you'll get a dodge. And those dodges are super clutch as well. So if I can hit this and not suck at this, and woo, okay, so we get the dodge there, and it's like super action. So when you get perfect dodges or deflects, you actually get some really cool bonuses from that as well, which is really nice. There's a deflect, or we can get a dodge, things like that. And what I love about, so there's the dodge right there, and you can just go right back into it and get some really cool teleportation and mobility out of that. The exclusive spear skin or abilities that you have, the first one is going to be a status effect applier, which is my #1 key here. So you'll be able to press this. It will have a heavy buildup of status effect, which is super useful if the enemy has an affix that's weak to that. You'll notice that my Glaive right now is a cryo Glaive, so I have freeze there. They also have ways to apply status effect from a distance with this distance wave. So you can see I can freeze him here and keep him in place. This was like a hard stun for enemies, which is really nice on that front. They also have a pommel jab, so it's my 3rd ability here. This is just a major stun buildup. So if you look at his stun bar underneath his health bar, it's at half almost just from that one pommel jab, which is crazy. And then the Glaive exclusive ultimate, there are some ultimates that you can use that are not specific to the weapon type, is going to be this one here. So you activate it, and it's just a room-wide clear, a whole bunch of damage to all enemies in the area, and it will apply status effect as well, which is really cool. Next up is the Mace and Shield, and this one is super sturdy. Rather than high mobility, though, if you wanted to, you could still build the Mace and Shield more about like mobility, agility, and dodging. I think stability is better, and you get some really great options. So you actually have the block ability, so you don't necessarily need to like do a perfect deflect at the right moment. With a para, you can just block and avoid damage from the front. You'll eventually get staggered if you keep blocking, but having that as an option is really cool. And then you just have very basic melee attacks, but they have so many different ways to utilize their heavy defense, which is really cool. So if you like playing like mace and board or sword and board, in this case, mace instead, you like having that defense. This one is super strong and honestly a really easy one to use when you're surrounded by a lot of enemies. They also have a really cool ability with the Mace and Shield, which is a charge. So you can actually charge it up and release. It allows you to just meteor dash across the room, which is crazy. There are some quick time events with that as well, but if you wanted to push enemies, you can do a ton of stagger damage with this as well, which is really useful. Kind of charge this up and go pew and do some damage there, which is really, really nice. They have like some shoves and things like that. You can create some other defensive skills from that as well. One of my favorites on the shield is you can actually do this, and if you hit it right, it's just like does this echo, like you actually like gong on your shield, which is really cool. And then you can also do like more of a like ranged attack with a backup on that as well. And just like the Glaive, you do have the ability to parry as well, but you also have the block. So this is the block here. You'll notice that if I get hit here, I block. It does build up my stagger, so if that bar gets too full, I'll end up falling down. But you also have a perfect block as well, which is just as useful as that. So there's a block. If I can actually, I'm doing this live, so let's see. So there's the parry. Now the difference here is that you'll notice that I don't move when I get the riposte. So like the Glaive has high mobility. So if you hit the riposte, like the parry into the riposte, you'll actually teleport and move around. But you'll notice with the Mace and Shield, instead I stand still and hit them. But what's cool is it actually will give you some shield as well, some like overcharge. So you can actually like use it as a way to keep yourself tanky and safe. So like right there, when I respawn, you'll notice that the blue bar above my health ends up filling up. So I can actually do some like defense recovery while I'm hitting these. So there's a double parry. You'll notice I have a whole bunch of shield now. Super cool, very tanky. And then if we want to, right, we can just charge, do some damage there. And it also has lots of stagger damage as well. So you can do that, he's staggered. And then of course you can do the punish when they're on the ground as well. And once you've charged up your ultimate, the shield exclusive ultimate is very simple. It's this like big explosion here. So you'll see how it build up. And what's cool about this is it just shoves a whole bunch of projectiles out, and these do insane single target. If you have a lot of enemies, it's not as powerful as the room-wide clear that the Glaive exclusive has, but this one, if you put it right on top of a boss, you can shred some single target damage like crazy. You see how many projectiles came out of that thing? It is actually nuts. Next up is the cannon, and this weapon is super confusing at first, but so much fun once you understand exactly how it works. So this is a ranged weapon. They have some really cool abilities that you can link up to it as well. But what's cool about this weapon in particular is that it has so many different functionalities. So when you activate your cannon, you'll notice that in default form, if you're standing and ready to shoot, you have this little shield in front of you. It's not the best shield in the world, but it does give you a little bit of freedom to tank some hits and some chip damage while you're using your ability. Then I want to turn your attention to the UI in the middle of the screen. This is a 3-function ranged weapon that has 3 different firing modes. The default mode is the machine gun, which is the one in the middle, and you'll notice that there's 2 number sets above and below on those. The number above, which is like the 3, 50, and 3 for the ammo types, that's how much you have in your magazine. So you'll notice that if I hold down the button, I'm in this machine gun mode, I'm draining all of that and pushing it down. The number underneath is how much of your total store that you have, and you'll notice that there is an infinity symbol for the machine gun. That is infinite ammo. You don't have to worry about recharging that in combat. You can use the machine gun as much as you want. Then you can switch between the machine gun, and on the left, if we were to recharge here, is a shotgun. So this one is like bam, bam, bam. And then if we go to the right, it is a sniper rifle. So we can actually do a charged attack over the shoulder. So some damage there by holding down the fire button, or we can just shoot. And this one has really great long range damage if you want to use it. The core mechanic for the cannon is going to be a perfect reload system. And that perfect reload system is also how you change ammo type. So if I press R on PC or on controller, I believe it's square for PlayStation and X for Xbox. So if you do that, so press this and then you'll press it over the ammo type that you want to use, and you'll be able to fire that way. So we can use that up. However, if we use the shotgun and then use the shotgun again, you'll notice that we actually run out of special ammo. We currently have no shotgun rounds to use. These will regenerate slowly over time, and also getting like deflects or dodges or special attacks will trigger regenerations of that ammo faster. So if you wanted to use the special ammo longer, you can just get those as well. So you can just do that. However, if you do have extra ammo and you are in combat, so say we're in combat here, we're fighting this guy, we're shooting, you'll notice that there is actually a like special reload area in the middle. If you hit that perfect reload, you'll actually get increased damage. There's 3 different states for the ammo type. There is the default gray or white, that means normal damage. There's yellow, which means you hit a perfect reload normally, which gives you increased damage. And there's also a red as well, which you'll get from special conditions like hitting parries or getting perfect reloads subsequently while in combat. So you have all those options. So actually, yeah, turning orange there. So now this is going to do increased damage and more buffs there, which is really nice. So you can kind of switch between these, hit the perfect reload, shoot, hit the perfect reload. I missed it there, so went down a stage to yellow. and now it goes up to orange to red. So now it's going to do even more damage. So you can do some damage there, which is really cool. So those are the 3 different ammo types. You can switch between them freely by just hitting the perfect reload or the reload button, and you can do all kinds of really cool things with it. You can see the sniper rifle does crazy damage. If you miss it, you'll pay a penalty and have to deal with it that way. Next, when you're in combat, you have 2 options for avoiding damage. If you, just like every other weapon, if you're moving and you hit the dodge button, you'll do this like little blast moves. You actually just will dash left to right or backwards, whatever direction you're moving in, you'll just do this little hop. Very useful with the cannon to avoid damage if you need to. However, just like with the other weapons, if you're not moving and you hit the dodge button, you will do a like perfect dodge ability. So if you're standing still and you hit this, you'll do a little twirl. So if we wait, and you hit the little twirl at the right moment, let's see if I can hit this, you will trigger a perfect dodge, which will give you a counter option. So there's the perfect dodge. And if you follow that up with a riposte, based on your ammo type, you will actually do some crazy damage. So you can actually kill them outright with that move there. It will give you some reloads on the ammo type that you have. So if I empty this, you'll see the ammo goes down. If I can actually hit this, there we go. You'll notice that it reloaded my weapon, so I actually get some ammo back for that, which is really cool. And it will raise your state on the ammo type as well, which is really nice. So the state goes up, I get some ammo, I can do some crazy damage. It also does some good stun as well. So you really want to hit those perfect dodges if you can. Again, don't move. You'll want to not move and then hit the backwards dodge at the right moment to get that bonus for the cannon as well. So switching between the ammo types, you have all kinds of different ranges you can use. It does apply status effects as well and elementals. It's got a crazy kit that you can use for all kinds of things that really stack together. Special abilities that are unique to the cannon are like this elemental mine here. So you can actually just put this down. This does ridiculous damage. It is a motion sensor mine that you put down. It will do elemental damage if they trigger it as well. However, it is a sticky mine as well, so you can actually shoot it onto an enemy and it'll blow up like a second or two later. This is really easy for burning down single target if you just want to put a bunch of mines down that apply it that way, which is super nice. You can just kind of wait for the cooldown and put a bunch of these down and set up crazy traps from that as well. And lastly, one of the unique cannon specific ultimate is just a black hole that explodes. So we can activate this, we can put this down, you'll shoot, it'll create this little black hole, and if there's mobs that are small mobs, this is a boss mob, it will actually just suck them all in and then explode. It's super useful, very flexible, and you can even put like a bunch of mines down and then shoot the black hole on top of it. It'll suck all the enemies into the mines and then they'll blow up. It's pretty awesome. Now, if you want to craft new abilities, you'll go to the smithy, so you can actually talk to him, access the workshop, and go to abilities. This is where you're gonna be able to craft all of the abilities in the game. You see there's still some that I can't afford or haven't been able to unlock. Things like this, they have crafting requirements. You need to sacrifice a certain weapon to do them, that sort of thing. There's some cool like meteoric slam for the mace is super cool. You go up in the air and slam down. There's an orbital laser for the cannon, which shoots down from above and does like ticking damage. Super awesome. But you'll go and craft these here. You'll notice that there are some that are not weapon restricted. You can use them on any weapon if you want. And there are some that are specific to weapons as well. And you can mix those together in your build on top of that. The next thing I want to highlight for you is the 4 quadrants inside of the monolith that you'll be diving into. This is something that I got stuck on for a little while as well, is there are actually 4 different quadrants. So if you talk to the cartographer, you'll be able to identify these and they'll all have their own association. You'll notice on the left side of the name of the map that you're going to do, it has a name to it. So this one is Man in Church. If you go and you filter your options here, so if we go here and we go to filters, you can actually select the quadrants, and each one of these is a biome for the monolith. So Man in Church, Mind and Truth, Word and Life, and Depth and Silence. You'll start with Man in Church as first, and you'll unlock new biomes, new quadrants in the monolith that have different loot, different bosses, things like that. So if you have a quest that says, you know, access Mind and Truth or access Word and Life, that just means you need to do a different monolith. I spent a lot of time in Man in Church just farming over and over because it's super fun. But you'll have these other options here that you'll unlock, and those will be part of the maps that you have available as well. Next, let's talk about gear and stats and how to put a build together. I'm not going to give you all the answers, but I want to explain some of these options here so it's easy to understand. The first thing that we look at when we're looking at which of these maps we're going to do inside of the monolith, you'll notice at the top right corner, just right next to my shoulder, it says medium, easy, impossible. There's different difficulties here. However, if you ever see impossible, that doesn't mean that it is insanely hard. It actually means that it's impossible with your current setup, because a lot of the weapons in the game have an element attached to them. So if I go to my weapon, you'll notice I have my cryo glaive equipped right now. However, if you match elements on an enemy, they will be completely immune to your damage. So what it means is when you go to the portal to enter the monolith and it says impossible at the top, that's because this is a cryo map, which means most of the enemies, including the boss, will be cryo element. And since I currently have a cryo weapon equipped, I will do 0 damage. They will be immune to my damage with that weapon, so that impossible's warning you like, hey, you have the wrong element equipped. You can't complete this as is, so just keep that in mind. Now, if you want to change your gear, your consumables, your loadouts, you can go to these armories here. They were very kind to put an armory at every major like NPC and hub, so you actually walk over these and change your loadouts. You can change loadouts, you can save loadouts. They give you a very generous 30 loadouts by default if you want to try different things for different elements and different weapons. You can also change up your consumables and look at what you have in your equipment. But on the manage equipment side, you can mess with your curios, you can mess with your abilities, equip new ones or change what they are, and more specifically, you can get your gear. On the gear itself, the first thing I can tell you is I would recommend just using the stat details button. When you press this and hover over a stat, it'll tell you what the stat does. And there are some very important ones. We already talked a little bit about agility for the high mobility glaive, or stability for the high defense mace and shield. There's also some damage reduction. There are crit chance with lethality. This allows you to do critical strikes, things like that. There's higher stun chance on enemies, or stun buildup on enemies with impact. And you want to mention, like kind of look at these as well. And when you're comparing different weapons, different gear, that sort of thing, you can very easily pick that up and kind of see what they're all about. So you can see their primary stats, their secondary stats, their elements, how those all tie together. You'll also notice, and keep this in mind as well, is when you have a focus, on the focus, they have an elemental imbuement sometimes, which means that it'll overwrite your element in some cases and give you, like, for your abilities and stuff. Like this turns my abilities electric if they have an imbuement as an option. So you want to pay attention to that as well. And there's going to be tons of different gear you can equip, things with different looks on it and stuff like that, with different stat bonuses. So you want to kind of mess around there. So if you ever need to look at the stats to figure out what it is you're trying to build, or if something is better for you, you can compare them this way and get different stats on there as well. Vigor increases how much energy is generated. So this is how you're going to put your build together, and you might want different stats from there as well. Now, on top of that, we already talked about the smithy for the gear and stats, but you can actually like customize, build, and modify these as well. So you'll come over here to the smithy in the main hub area, activate this, go inside, and you'll be able to modify. This is where you can do gear crafting and modification. So we can go over to, let's say we go over to like this cool little helmet. You're going to have, based on the stat that you click on, different things you'll collect inside the monolith that will give you different crafting options. So for example, I can click on a secondary stat. You'll notice all these different crafting options. This one removes a secondary stat and adds its value to another secondary stat. So we clicked on shock buildup bonus. If we use this really quick, we can activate it, and this will allow you to get a different like buff bonus. So we lose shock buildup and get buff duration bonus instead. So you can actually do these modifiers based on what you have. Click on this, it'll give you an option to change the stat. So if you want to make your best in slot perfect stat item, you can modify this with this. And all of these crafting items and consumables are picked up inside the monolith. So you'll collect these. There's higher rarity ones that have higher chance of succeeding, things like that. So you can actually really customize a build. And I would recommend, if you find a build you like, try to find variants of that have different elements depending on the cartograms that you're trying to go into. The next thing I'll mention is that consumables are everything in this game. You'll be able to go to your armory and manage your consumables. There are grenades that you can throw. There are imbuements you can put on your weapon that make you have a higher damage output or elemental damage output, which is super useful. I can apply disrupt to my weapons, and you can have different status effects that come from that as well. There's ways to increase your shields. There's ways to increase your over shield and stuff like that. Ways to heal yourself. There's tons of things you can do. Remove all negative effects instantly and prevent them from reapplying. You can increase like cheat death mechanics. Consumables are everything, and I guarantee you will run into boss fights and cartograms that are incredibly difficult that you will need to use consumables to overcome. Consumables will drop inside the monolith while you're doing the cartograms and completing them. However, if you want to restock, which I recommend that you do because you will have to run into this quite often, the best thing you can do is come over here to the bartender in the bar, and every time you complete a cartogram, he'll update his stock, and you can come in here, you can buy different consumables. You can buy the crafting consumables, you can buy heals, bonuses, you can even buy wine or ale if you you want to give you bonuses, but as you start pushing higher and higher in the levels and difficulty, you will need to start employing these to great effect. Lastly, I'll leave you with some gameplay tips and some mechanics. The first one is this one here. You will find these apparitions throughout your Monolith exploration, and they will ask for you to spend one of your respawns on that Monolith, on that actual cartogram, to be able to like give it to them so they can revive, and nothing happens. It's super weird. You're like, okay, why did I just give away one of my respawns to this random person? However, this comes back to you, so if you end up dying and losing all of your respawns, there's a chance that someone will hear your call. When they hear your call, they will be able to give you one of their respawns. It fully resets your HP, it fully charges your overshields, and it gives you another chance, and sometimes gives you multiple. So like when you go and help a random person by giving them either one of your respawns or 3 of your respawns, it helps them to revive, but it also allows you to get that same kindness in return if you were to fail in that mission as well. So it's a kind of cool like social community system that allows you to help other people when you have the extra revives to do so, and then you can have that come back to you later if you really need it. The next system I want to highlight is the Aether system, which is incredibly confusing at first. I was like, what is this? And it took me a little bit to figure it out. So when you get to the end of a cartogram and you're completing it and you defeat the boss, as you exit, next to the exit, there will be an Aether portal. It's like this little slimmer Aether portal that spawns next to the exit when you're done with that whole instanced encounter. And when you walk up to it, it'll ask you, hey, would you like to throw one of your items into the Aether? And it just picks a random item from your inventory and throws it out into the abyss, and you lose it forever. And sometimes nothing happens. You're like, what? Why did I just do it? Why am I destroying my items? And it's just like the respawn feature that if you were to help someone, they can help you. It's all online. When you throw an item into the Aether, it will buff the item by making it higher rarity or higher level or stronger or adding stats to it or something like that. And then it'll spit that item out of an Aether for another player. So you'll notice that when I defeated the boss and came to the Aether, there was a legendary Glaive laying on the ground for me that someone else had buffed and sent my way. It'll have their player name on the item itself, so you can actually click on that. It actually allows you to view their profile as well to see who helped you out with that. But it's generally quite good to throw the items you don't need. Like if you already are fully equipped and you have your best gear equipped, you can just throw, use the Aether. It'll throw an item in there, and the next time you come to the Aether, someone else's item will come out of it. So you actually will have good items coming out of the Aether regularly. So I actually do recommend, once you have a solid build and you're happy with it, to start using the Aether often because it buffs items and you get buffed items back, and then it's kind of more of like a community feature, but it's something that's quite confusing at first. And again, what I would do is make sure you have the items equipped, like have your best items equipped at the moment before you use it, because sometimes I've lost legendaries because it randomly chose a legendary from my inventory and threw it in there. But it's a super cool feature and kind of a fun thing that you should use as often as possible. You notice that my purple shield, Mace Shield, went in there, and I got a cool legendary Glaive out of it. But just kind of be aware that that is there and something that you can use to your benefit. And that is the beginner's guide to Imperial. Hopefully I've demystified all the systems that might be kind of, a little confusing at first when you're first joining. Helps identify the weapons you may want to use. And honestly, this game is super fun, very unique, a mixture of different genres, and is, a game I can see a lot of people enjoying. And thanks again to the devs for granting a key and sponsoring this video. Let me know what you think about Imperial down below, and if there are tips and tricks you have for other players in the game that you might want to share in the comments that other people may benefit from as well. If you found value in today's video, leave a like down below, leave a comment for the algorithm to help this video get seen by more people, and don't forget to check out my other channels for other content and other stuff and other things.